I want to know what's in this folder.
Sure. Yep. Oh.
Could you please help me just for a second? Could you please get the, is the guy right behind you in the green? Could you just get him to move just a little bit? Just a little bit, yeah.
I like that game because it's a game I can always realize. Well, it's relative. It's just, you know, I really kind of run over my last game. Like winning an argument. You feel good, then you're like, good.
Excuse me? Excuse me.
Of course. It's been my wallpaper for like 3 years.
Excuse me? Just really quick.
Oh,
sorry.
Wait.
Sorry. It's just, yeah, it's just as.
Over here.
Yeah, we're over there. Like,
Sorry.
yeah, no worries. It's just.
Yes, I'm under a bridge. I think.
Hello, is it there? You sounded like you were. I'm not even. But it sounded like it. Sounds like an English cat. Sounds like an 80 or 20. Okay, every time I think we get it, I think so.
Welcome to the minis. Yeah, minis. Someone's gonna get fired for that. He's not gonna come back next year.
We're all banned for next year.
So, this is the Minty's animation workshop, which I expect to do with OblivionFall, which is here. I am Zero, obviously, and basically we're going to talk about animation to basically discuss about the cool stuff about animation, and basically just tell how to get started. Because I've seen a lot of people who think that all they need is to get Flash and they hope that the miracles will happen, which, you know, I understand that feel. A lot of people just start with Flash and get inspired to start making animation right away, and they just get famous from there on. But there's a lot of skills to be learned apart from animation that actually make the animation great. And I actually do want to start with the intro right now. So, all right. I think we can actually get the sound this time.
Because meeting on here was kind of last minute, I put a little 30-second thing together so you would know who I am. Most of you probably only know who Minty is.
Well, so I suppose maybe some of you haven't seen Bonus Determination shown earlier. Would you like actually to see it again? I hope the sound here is actually works right. So I hope you enjoy it. It's 5 minutes 20 seconds, and
You need to word to get their fingertips out.
oh yeah. Yeah, it's you know, with the Berlin fandom, there's a lot of fan animations that are meant to be comedies and all that. Well, fun the show just to. I decided to go with something a bit darker with the tone. It's not something completely sad. There's a happy note to it as well, but it's a bit different from usual. So just start from that. Afterwards, we're going to talk a bit about the project, go with the questions, because I wanted to feel more like a discussion rather than just me trying to push and then push just ideas from the head. So I hope you enjoy, and see you later.
I saw that before. We're getting live
I guess I could start talking about how this version of the project has been started back in December from last year. And it was the second version because I realized after working painfully for about almost a year on a previous version that the version I was working on, it just turned out to be just going nowhere, so I had to start back from scratch. And basically, back in around December, I started storyboarding a new version with a different script with this version who was working based on the script. And yeah, animation takes a lot of time to get done. But the result at the end, just seeing people being, just looking at it, just appreciating it means a lot for me. So I guess I could start with my background, and you could tell a bit about your background as well. So basically, I've been working in Flash since 2008, but I was basically just, well, I'm gonna say that was just a stupid kid who was doing sprite animations in my spare time. And basically, what I did, basically what I did was I just took sprites from video games and I tried to make some animations with them. I had the whole story in my head. It was really, really complex. It was about a Yoshi, which was a crossover between a Yoshi and a Koopa. Yeah, it was one of these editings before Yellow, the changeling. And I had a whole story. The animation was not impressive. It was basically just walk cycles. They had some speech bubbles because back then I didn't know what pictures just fine online. And basically they had some fight scenes, and obviously the fight scenes were punches and punches, and once in a while I pull it back because I made my mistake. And basically I did those things since 4 years because I found that fun. Until I found a show back in 2012. And one of the things that impressed me was that the show was animated in Flash. It was also what I used in Google's spread animation. I just looked at what the show did so much better than I did with their facial expressions and designs. And it just felt like something that could actually feel proud actually if there were doing something in that file. So I basically created my own pen animation that I went to show at the Road Country in Turkey. And I was so, I felt so convinced I could do something wonderful with the limited skills I had. I went straight to Monica and I told them, I'm going to have a panel on pen animation back in Flash. And they basically gave me that panel. And during that 6 months, 6 to 8 months that they gave me to build Monica, I had to learn Flash again, learn how to make focus animations, to actually get something done to show the product. And basically, I'm never going to do that again, but at least this time I didn't know how to do that, so replicate that mistake. And it actually pushed me when I realized that I just had so much good time doing that while I was still studying engineering. I just realized after those 2 years, I'm going to drop out of engineering. I'm going to go learn animation, and I'm going to come back to. So I went to study 3 years of animation, and basically in my whole of my life since then. So do you want to talk about your backstory?
Yeah. So, where does it start? Basically, back in 2006, I was one of those students who didn't do his work and drew comics in class all day. I got in trouble a lot. Until one of my teachers showed me this stick figure animation program called Pivot, which was honestly extremely limiting. There was very little you could actually do with it. So, because of all those limitations, especially after seeing what some people did online, because some people were like doing crazy stuff with it, I told myself that I wanted to be the best in the world, which is completely unrealistic, but I tried anyway. And the thing about this program is it's like, imagine Microsoft Paint, but like with less features. That's pretty much the program I was using. They didn't even have an undo button. There was no brush tool. There was just lines and stuff. There was no layers. But I used that program for about 6 years. And I actually did end up getting pretty good at it in the end. And I got a huge ego, and it was pretty bad. But the one big thing about it is because of the limitations, I had to do everything by hand. There's no clean, it just is nothing like that. So eventually, because I always knew about Flash, and I used it before, but I never actually made an animation before. I just kind of messed around a bit at school. When I got into the show, I immediately noticed that it was animated in Flash because during the walk cycles in episode 1, I noticed that the way the cutie marks are formed, it just looked a certain way, and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely Flash. So, and then I looked at the community, I saw that there were some animations, and a lot of them were like getting millions of views, and I thought, geez, maybe I could give this a try. And my goal then was to be, I want to be the best animator in the pony community, which was also unrealistic. But, you know, I gave it a shot, and I met some cool people, including my wife, who's sitting over there. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. Well, having come from an animation program that was so limited, I found that Flash was basically spoiling me. But at the very least, I felt like I got a very good grasp of it very quickly. The little animation clips I played earlier, those are literally my first Flash animations, so I picked it up pretty fast, since I already had a vague understanding of how it worked. So, yeah, and then I kind of started my Fall Studios and made some animations there, and only one of them got popular, which was a cult classic. But I thought it was pretty good. Worked on that for a long time. Obviously, I can't do what Minty does with his crazy like art direction and lighting and rendering. I could probably. I mainly focus on character animation, but I'm a cheat who uses queens, so.
I do too. I just take the queen and the curve editor. That line. So instead, what I do is I take that line and just take points and I start drawing some weird line just to make it look like it was actually made frame by frame. And basically, based on but the problem though with that is that this starts to make the movement jittery at some point. So
yeah, my number one thing that I don't like is jitteriness. That was something in the pivot community that they beat out of you at a young age. So what I do is I put a keyframe in the middle of the queen, ease in and out on either side, and I offset the keyframe so there's overlapping motion, and then it looks smooth. Then it looks less like queens, and you can fake arcs by having rotations offset from direct, horizontal and vertical movement. Or simply offsetting vertical and horizontal movement can create an arc where there wouldn't have been one.
You can also use the guide movement, which is basically when you have a queen that goes from one to the other, you just draw a curve and then it goes to that.
I never learned how to do that.
Never learned how to do that?
They showed us in school, and I don't know how to do it.
Okay,
so I just do it manually.
Oh my god, it's super.
I can watch a tutorial, you don't have to explain.
And when you want to do it, that you go with the ease in and the ease out, you take that curve and you go and you ease it in there. You just take that, you just take that curve and you adjust to have that nice curve. Yeah. Anyway, if you have some questions, so I'll go up.
Could you clarify everything you said after you could?
You could do it.
You always be the very best that no one ever was.
That's my goal.
Well, basically, a queen is basically telling the computer, this is where you start, this is where you go, guess the rest. And basically, you can tell him to go, for example, to slow down, basically to just get the deal that, for example, something is trapped and it goes forward, or speed up like it's going down. Basically, with those curves, you can get those movements going down. You can get some arc. Well, because basically when you arc, for example, if you throw something in the air, you don't get something that goes like this, because it looks really stupid. You really get that nice curve, and for example, you have some movements. For example, I throw my arm like that. You clearly see that arm actually from that point actually curves. There's some, for example, there's some cartoons where they basically don't do that. They just go in a straight line. For example, some Looney Tunes cartoons, they basically just do that with some of the movements just to make them feel snappy. And all goes with the direction you actually follow with that. So that's basically what I try to explain. But Flash as a thing that actually lets you create that by yourself instead of doing that frame by frame.
That's a really good reference.
I mean,
For complicated, some complicated movements, you can cheat with queens, and most people animate on twos. I don't believe in that. I only animate on ones. There's no such thing as animating on twos.
well, animating on twos is like animating half the frame rate, but you double it later and you have to go with it. Yeah.
What I do is I go view multiple frames at once, and I'll select one layer at a time, so I'll see the head, and I'll see like where it was queens, and I'll just kind of click and kind of like make it look curved and like space it out manually with my hand, and it's pretty cool. Your hand was raised.
It was raised. I was going to ask what a queen was.
Oh, well then we answered that.
Queen is some age. I don't know if it's like between 10 and 13 or I don't know how.
Is it legal?
Like, that isn't a teenager, so like 10, 11, 12.
10, 11, 12? Yeah. That's not
It's the age of those.
It's all
Yeah.
So, when it comes to animation, are people with Windows Vista just like dead, or is there some for people with
People
Windows
still use Windows Vista.
Vista?
Okay, here's the thing. The problem with Windows Vista is not that has nothing to do with animation. It's just the drivers and all the fact that you try to push something that would take too much. Well, basically like some animation where you try to take something that does too much stuff, but you don't. Most people don't realize that they don't have what it takes, which was back in the days a really, really good computer, and even manufacturers didn't really know what this capable computer was, even though it was just taken and set. So basically, if you still have Windows Vista, get a new computer. What I did right after Good Morning Fall was there, I don't know. Rollicon 2013 earthquake where they actually had seismographs that actually shake because of the concert. They actually jumped, basically we were about 1,000 just jumping to the beat of the song. And it created harmonics that were strong enough that they damaged some foundations of the building. I was underneath during that concert giving my animation panel. I was shaking. But I was not the only one that was shaking.
Well, so I guess they just want to cause earthquakes every time they're just cause
Yeah. I see what happened on my screen. Anyway, with a machine, a good computer is a good investment. Don't need the best one, but go at Best Buy and tell the guy if you want something good. And then he's gonna try to scam you by selling you those, those big all-in-one PCs that's just a screen with, and they basically just throw whatever they had at Walmart as components. What I did right after going to Baltimore, because I realized that my aging laptop was really aging, I basically just spent all the money that I had on a good, decent desktop, and it's working. It's basically what helped me with animation, because Flash is really CPU intensive. Doesn't even take GPU. It doesn't even have tools to improve. For example, having a good play last to actually test animation. That's one framework. So yeah, get a computer.
Get a copy of it.
how rare that is. How hard it was for me to get my copy.
I guess I could talk a bit about storyboarding, because a lot of people don't realize when they go and start animation, they think that what they're going to do, they're going to take the script, and what they're going to do is just open Flash, start putting a character based on what it's in the script, and basically just go run with it. The problem, because I've done that mistake as well, is that they don't realize how much stuff they actually have to do on the lens of the animation itself. They don't realize at one point that they're breaking their own rules, because, for example, they have seen where the camera moves, and they break it 180 degrees because they haven't planned yet. They realize that they have to redo a shot, because that part, you need to know how to direct a scene, and it's one of these things that you learn by learning how to movies work by watching some film analysis, taking some analysis class, just doing stuff. So you start just drawing a character. It can be just a stick man. It doesn't need to be that good with framing it and just giving the idea to understand where it's going to go. You start making your own animation with those stickers that look like garbage, and then if you get the feel of the scene going on, you can just start making those. And basically, if you start, I recommend don't start with a 20 minutes long animated project. Don't try to do anything 20 minutes long at all, because, for example, if you just want some lip sync, those 20 minutes are going to be tedious.
on storyboarding, I was always allergic to it, and because I thought it would be hard until the time I tried it, where you literally just draw a stick figure. And unless you're working on a group project, it doesn't matter if other people can follow what's going on. As long as you know what's going on in your head, it's fine. The only, besides like the 180 rule, like rule of verbs is nice. You literally just draw 2 horizontal and 2 like vertical lines. I did that backwards with my hand, but evenly spaced on your screen, and generally just have things around those points if you want to look good. And that's about it. But then again, I did an animation called Gospel of Dismay for EA Games, which the whole thing is this big choreographed thing at the start that was all done as stick figures. But then occasionally, I'll do something like a cult classic where I won't storyboard at all. And that's fine, except I forgot that Applejack has freckles. And I didn't realize until after I posted it. So, oops.
Well, don't worry, you're not the only one who doesn't realize something about the video before posting it. When I did the CNBC promo, I did like 5 days, so it doesn't excuse it, it explains it, but I basically didn't realize at the very beginning that there's one frame that just glitches and you can see one big flash at the very beginning because I didn't take up rewatching the whole thing. And basically it was just editing software that I use and just but I realized I mistaken that too late. And since YouTube doesn't have an edit button for videos, I think it should because you have a lot of years to fix mistakes. Unfortunately, we're kind of stuck at that point. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
Well, for folks who are not familiar with Flash and kind of haven't trained in it, do you recommend a tutorial site or a resource online where they could learn fundamentals?
I have the 2 best tutorials for learning animation in general, and also if you want to learn Flash, is Happy Harry's Hoo-Ha 2 How-Tos. That's Harry Partridge. He is one of the greatest animators on the entire internet. Harry Partridge. And the series is not on his YouTube channel, it's on Hoo-Ha something. But the series is Happy Harry's Hoo-Ha 2 How-Tos. It's a mouthful. It's really funny, really good. He explains all the animation principles, and the first episode is directly about Flash. The second best one, which is more of a general animation that applies to everything, is Alan Becker's series on the 12 principles of animation. Alan Becker is the creator of Animator versus Animation, which is a very popular stick figure series, which I've been a fan of since the beginning of time. And yeah, his videos on animation principles are amazing, and I haven't even watched all of them, but I watched like half of it, and it was good. I'm a bad boy, I haven't watched them.
Basically, I'm not the best one to describe how to learn Flash because my father had one of these thick books about Flash, and basically there was like that much about just explaining how you animate in Flash, and the rest was just scripting. What I really recommend is really a hands-on approach. You're going to learn a lot by actually working with the software and learning some of the quirks that the software has, like for example, how to split some objects into layers or keyframes, how to break things, how to group symbols. You can also learn a lot by reverse engineering other stuff. For example, there's some stuff on UDMI from other members that will basically release the resources. For example, with some rigs, so you can actually learn how to get those things. Because, for example, I learned how the DHX make their rigs. I just looked at the real terms. I was impressed, and I felt so stupid because the way that we did that was so made so much sense. But I couldn't.
Yeah, I was going to just point out another possible resource. Didn't know if you heard of it before. That's
Dribble Table by
Oh,
Prince.
Dribble Table by
Dribble Table's
Prince,
great.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen those, but they talk more generally, not class specific, but he reviews technique and storyboarding and characterization and drawing style and lots and lots.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of those. Conference is a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing, I'm going to mention this because probably I don't think anyone will ask about it, but it is an essential thing. Flash plugins, are they called plugins or add-on? I don't remember.
Oh, those
Extensions. They're called extensions. There are some that will save you hundreds of hours of work. My favorite one personally is, I remember what it's called. 6 symbols to timeline. It's good. Especially if you work in puppet animation, if you do a lot of like changing timing and if you're like moving your like stuff around in the timeline, the looping number can get all befuddled and completely messy. But if this magic plugin, you just select all the layers that you want to fix, press it, and everything gets synced up to the frame number that you're on. It's so good.
Yeah, and there's another approach for some people who don't like to use plugins. You just grab all those frames, you grab them, you create a motion tween out of them, well, classic tween, you create sync, which is going to sync all of those symbols together, and it just get rid of the motion tween, unless there was already one that you don't need to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically one of the approach that I use, since I don't really use any extensions. Except one that actually exports all the Flash violators independently, so it's just comes as
Okay. I mentioned 6 symbols of timeline because it's my favorite, but also because I actually spoke to the guy who developed it and got him to update it so it worked on Animate CC.
Oh, nice.
It didn't used to.
I do also try to do basically the integrated Flash now, but basically you have it just buttons pressed for the lip sync. To basically the plugin itself, because the lip sync is basically just use rerun frames for the mouse for most of the parts, because they really have some very specific situations. And one of the plugins basically take all of the frames that you put in the symbol to just use repeatedly. And you could just click on that frame and it will basically create that symbol at that point in time with that frame.
Is that kind of like keyframe caddy?
Yep. Well, it's basically keyframe caddy, but now it's Flash. But
I didn't know about that. Ooh, dang.
Alright, Flash reliability. Have you guys ever worked on a project for a while and gotten saved and the program crashed on you and you lost a lot of progress?
yes. And I gotta say, I invented some swear words sometimes. So, well, there's some kids around, so I wrote it down.
There's something I picked up at school, which is very good, is every couple of hours, obviously save constantly, but every couple of hours save a new version of the file, like underscore v1, v01, underscore v02, etc. Just save a million versions, and you'll be good. Those big animations, like a Cold Classic and Doppel Sombrero, usually end up in the 40s somewhere by the end. If you split it up into multiple Flash files, that can sometimes help as well, I guess, but I like to do everything in one go because I'm crazy.
In my case, I basically just, every time there's a camera cut, it's a completely different Flash file. Also, with Flash CC, they integrated a new feature, basically doing the same. The only thing is that after some time, it gets annoying because your file is huge and
It lags.
it basically takes the time to actually do a save, and since Flash is unstable, it's gonna shut down everything else of the software to be able to do that save without anything else crashing. But that might be annoying, but losing information can be annoying as well. Also, getting backups on hard drives and getting that hard drive, in a different place, with some backups on the cloud, because your computer can be wiped out or, good break, good big trouble. And you don't want to lose 6 months of work. You won't get that back.
Personally, when Flash does crash, usually redoing it the second time is about 10 times faster, because I never realized this until it happens. About 80% of my time animating is me trying something I don't like that, trying some slightly different I don't like that, and eventually I'll find something I like. So once I'm already I'm dead set and I know what I want, redoing it is so much easier. And that's another reason why storyboards can be good, because that can also cut that time down in half. So,
Yeah.
Way in the back. So as a fellow media person, and keeping in mind it's been maybe a decade since I've actually used Flash for anything, what really was weird to me about the show is that in all the media that's the fan community is creating is when I used Flash, it was really hard to make it not seem rigid and all that, and there's a lot of bounce to the characters and a lot of organic nature. How do you guys do that?
Well, basically, one of the technical limitations that we have to deal with the Flash is that the parts of the body of the ponies are usually rigid. What actually helps a lot is that since there are multiple parts of the body, what that really helps is that you don't move the same way. You don't feel like the whole body just shifts forward, backward, all at once. For example, what he was talking earlier, for example, giving some delay with some of the parts can actually give the feel that the body actually follows like a spring. Some bounce, some follow-up movement. For example, you get a character that moves its head really fast, and you have this hair that actually gets the movement with some kind of delay or flaps with the wind. There's also a lot of there's also with the feel. There's some sound effects that they use in the show that actually influence the brain to actually think that they're more bouncy than they are. There was also once in a while creating new parts for new. For example, when you really stretch out and you see the hook that actually curves to make that movement. And for example, even for arms, you could have moments where it's supposed to bend and actually curves, and at that moment, physically it wouldn't make sense, but the actual context of the movements is supposed to curve. It will actually make the movement so much more rich and that's will stick because of that thing.
yeah. Another way to think about it for character animation in general is I have a very physics-based approach where I kind of in my brain, I kind of divide the character into moving and non-moving parts. And by that I mean parts that can move actively and parts that only move passively. I kind of think about, you don't have to understand the anatomy or anything unless you're doing brain or hand drawn, or which case you kind of do. But it's generally good to think about if your character is doing a movement, say you have one character punching another or someone. Think about which muscles would be driving the movement and which muscles would be active. So obviously, if you don't know enough about anatomy, just think, okay, which limb is moving, which joint, and have those parts move first, and have every upper body part the further away it is from the active muscle, the more delayed the movement should be. Usually, the furthest point away on the body, I'd have delayed by about 2 frames, and the parts in between might be delayed by about 1 frame. And then when it comes to things like hair and claw, generally, all of their movements are reactionary. So if something is accelerated forward, the hair would and stuff would start dragging behind. But as it decelerates, that stuff would start flipping forward again and then bounce back. Yeah, and they're sure and all that stuff.
And for references, when you're not sure what part of the body, since we're working with horses, there's a lot of good references on YouTube of horses jumping over fences, walking, doing some movements. Look at it, there's a lot of people that are from that, since it's a good resource to do that. Yeah.
Have y'all had any practice or intend to use the Toon Boom program in the future?
My next project is going to be in Toon Boom because I basically, what I realized over time is that Flash has some limitations. For example, the way that it handles compositing. I forced for some effects to just take the Flash files hope for the best and recommend After Effects to actually do some testing because Flash is cool for those. The difference with Boom, what Picabee was talking to me about, because he's been working with it for a long time, it's more, it's not well made for small projects until, well, small projects that you do quick, unless you do it frame by frame, and you have to actually create gigs and hope and really publish it like it should be. You don't have that level of freedom with Flash rigs. But it's more for animator oriented than Flash, because Flash has been mostly just basically a fancy vector program with cleaning capabilities and timeline, while Toon Boom has some effects for basics for lighting, it has some IP rigs that actually work, except unlike Flash. It can actually bend things without having to rely on shape tweaks, which really don't work all the time. Unless you really hint, because you have to use guides to hint at how the shape tweaks work. There's some deformers that actually work as well. You can actually open up how to grow bitmaps. It doesn't like as much. But the learning curve, while Flash has a much more, simple curve, where basically learning all the stuff one after the other, and learn some tricks. The learning curve with Toon Boom is a lot more steep compared to Flash. But it does a lot. And basically, when they created Toon Boom, they wanted it to be done just for animation, nothing else. And basically, they're talking about video games as well, but it's animation for the video game like Flash.
I always say that my next project will be done in Toon Boom, but it never happens, so. Yeah.
Well, it's much more to talk about, except, basically the MLP movie was done in Toon Boom, and I really respect the team for taking all that step to actually try to really improve the look of the franchise with that. But also have to take all the animators that were experienced with Flash and train them with a new tool that seems scary. But if I got to learn Flash, I'm pretty sure I can learn how to do it as well. So that's pretty much it. Because one of the things I've learned at school that was talked about a lot is that it's not the software that makes the animator, it's what he's learned. So if you only know how to do those tricks, like how to clean, how to do all those tricks, you won't have actually learned how to perform the art on its own. For example, learning how to actually good looking colors by looking into material, knowing how to do movement by knowing how movement works instead of knowing this apply to Flash. So basically it applies to a lot of stuff. That's why we've seen a lot of animators just adapt to. And basically there's some limitations because we have to learn how to go with the limitations of the software and the designs of our teams. That's why, for example, in MLP, there's a way to do magic like the horns. It's a pre-built horn animation that you put on the horn. They have to produce something different for the objects because they realize putting that effect on something that moves like the head, which is very complex movement, is a really weird way to handle it. So again, the style doesn't work with it. So yeah, that's basically it. So yeah, you know the limitations you have with the software, but also all of the little neat tricks, and you just do the animation within those factors. It actually makes something much better.
Question over there.
Yeah, do you have an example that you can show us that shows your workflow maybe? I don't know if there's like a certain sequence you have to like, for example, animations or, I don't want to make you like dominate your tile or anything like that. It's not like possible. But is there a certain sequence of things that you go through after like the storyboarding?
Basically, one of the things that I do when I start with the storyboarding, I establish the character basic poses, what I think are the poses, the actual movement, what I see, how the scene is going to go. have to try to get. And the problem with that approach is that maybe those people different than expected. So once in a while I just roll this stuff and I just picture how it's going to go. For example, I have some bunches like that, and I realized the way that I expected it to actually go faster. I have to go ahead with it. And once that part is done, there's going to be some tweaks to try to figure it out with the background, unless you put the link on before. I usually put the background after, so I put the kind of distraction.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask about it, it's, I find it really difficult to place that character into the background after the fact. I don't know.
Usually, one of the things I learned when I was a designer, putting placeholders, for example, if you have a table that you haven't done, the height, all that stuff, just get the perspective right, get the
Yeah, usually how I do these things is I start with the audio first, which means obviously the writing comes first. But usually, I like to have things sort of sync up to music, so I'll usually pick, after the voice acting and stuff is done, and any key sound effects, like if there's like something loud, like an explosion, or something that has to be like on a certain time, I like to put like the key sound effects in first, the voice acting and the music, and I kind of like, I don't necessarily sync the voice acting and sound effects up to the music, but I kind of, like once I found like the track that I think fits, I like to have it kind of flow in the same way that the music flows. Music is usually a huge inspiration to me for how I approach an animation. Then I design the backgrounds first. I like to vector all that stuff out because it's like a big chore and I like to just get it out of the way. When it comes to doing shots, I put the characters in first and then I just put the background in immediately after before I start animating them. But when I'm doing layout, usually I'll do the characters first. If I'm using a storyboard, I'll just follow that, but if I'm just going straight ahead, which is like my habit that I picked up from the old animation program I used, I don't map out the key poses first. I know you probably should, because it's easier to change things later, but I feel that everything just looks, or at least for me, everything ends up looking kind of stilted. If I do that, I feel like it just flows a lot better if I just start from the beginning, go right to the end, one animation file. That's just how I tend to work usually. Yeah. It's just kind of how I learn to do everything. And I usually just, I animate straight ahead. I do block out a movement, obviously, but I only do it. I block out a movement when I add the basic tweens, when I add keyframes inside the tweens, and then I add easing. And if I need more nuance in the movement, I'll convert entire tweens into full sets of keyframes and manually edit those until I get the movement I want. And then I'll kind of offset everything by different timing to where it's all nice, and then I'll go to the next movement and so on. And then once all that's done, I'll add in the final sound effects for all the little things like boost steps and ambience and all that.
I have a question about those really quick.
Okay.
Where do you find your sound effects? Do you make them yourself or do you put up open source things?
There's a library on YouTube for YouTube creators of just sound effects. It's pretty good for what it is. It's not complete. There are also some free sound effects on YouTube for people who just upload. But obviously they're not the highest quality. Once in a while I might want to ask someone to actually create something. There was even someone who sent me a library with just sounds that were basically taking all the bits on the show and basically just give all the performance surround sound channel, cut the sound effect at the right channel, background music.
Yeah, I have that actually. Where I get a lot of my stuff from is, when I first started doing animation, my first semester of sound, it was like 2008, I went to these free sound websites and all this stuff. It was pretty poor quality. Where I got a lot of my good sound effects, apart from the sound effects from the show that you mentioned, because I think I have the same pack probably, it's just that the boost steps and the magic sounds and stuff in it. I doubt any of you would have heard of this. It was, there's a guy in the stick figure community who made sounds for everyone. Like everyone on Newgrounds, everyone on Stick Page, everywhere used all the sound effects. They got them from one guy called Pepper. And he basically did these sound packs that were full of thousands of sound effects that were all really good. Some of them were ripped from video games and movies and stuff like that, mostly video games. And they were really, really high quality, and a lot of it was just random Foley and stuff he found. And I have a lot of people come to me for those. Yeah, you especially. Yeah, Pepper's good. If you've ever heard of Young's Dojo, you can download all his big sound packs there. There's on the forum, and it's pretty good.
What do you think is harder, Andy? 3 characters or what do you guys need?
Actually, there's a really interesting approach with those. Basically, 3D is going to be very tricky because you're basically anything like a shell, and you have to just imply some actual light through them. But there's going to be some very, very different challenges depending on what you have in mind. So, for example, if you have a character that goes to the left and the right, and 3D is going to be much easier. Then if you do it in 2D, because you actually have to change the views setting.
You can pretty much redraw everything from different perspectives, which is really hard if you're not a good artist.
Yep. And in 3D, for example, there's going to be other challenges. So, for example, the eyes, which are going to be tricky to get right. There's going to be some eye phase buffing because basically in 3D, instead of actually having some vegetative input that you just change, for example, to get to the angle that you want. When a lot of people just use it as an idea, which is basically a point at the very end of the arm, and when you pull at that, the rest of the arm follows. So you have that part that you change the one.
It's like a little elbow thing where you shoot for those. With eyes, usually there's like a control that you can toggle it on and off with austerity. Just do that control to wherever you want it to look. I've done a lot of 3D when I went to school for animation. It was completely 3D, so I had to juggle Nightfall Studios and my education with 3D stuff. The biggest problem with 3D, aside from the fact that working in another dimension is a lot harder than you think it is if you haven't done it before. There's this thing called gimbal lock, which will ruin your day, and it's really annoying. You think, I'm just going to have my character's arm move like this in a straight line, but instead, it spins around the whole way. You don't know why it happens, but it's because the 3 axes of rotation, 2 of them have been locked together, and so in order to make that movement, it has to unwind and then twist another way before it can go there, and when it happens, it's really annoying to fix, and if you put another keyframe in the middle, it'll just do 2 short bends on the way there instead. It's just you pull your hair out, you don't know what's wrong, so.
Just for example, with the bell, with the CG bell, when it actually falls on the rolls, I actually had an issue with the gimbal that actually caused that, so I had to change the axis that was actually turning on, so it would actually turn on the leading axis, because usually if you're turning around one of these axes and you don't actually have to worry about the 2 others, it actually works fine.
That's a good way to differentiate between the 2. 3D and 2D animation take the same level of artistry, but in 2D animation, you spend about 80% of your time doing grind work, drawing means especially if it's hand drawn. And in 3D, you spend 80% of your time troubleshooting and wondering why it's not working, and sorting through glitches and looking online for help, and you just can't find a single person who has the same problem you have, and you don't know what keyword to use, and you're just going all over these forums, and you don't know what's wrong. Thankfully, I had a teacher who could help, and sometimes they don't even know. And when that happens, it's just over. You have to try something else.
The program that I use is Social Maker, and most of my stuff that I've learned was either from Valve or from Argo Games.
Source Filmmaker is a lot easier to find.
Well, just for example, the rendering time, because Source Filmmaker is basically a video game engine that you use. You won't have to worry about stuff like, for example, frames that take hours to render because of the paths of the lights that work. Some of the shaders are much easier to handle. Since the assets have already been created, one of the issues that you might have is that since you have access from different sources, it might feel like a mishmash of things that don't fit together. a challenge is with social maker, I've seen a lot of animators where it's basically ponies, but it's in the teamwork rescue setting because they don't have more rotation to get it. Which is one of the things that we actually have in Flash that, well, since it's much easier to vector than just wire stuff, but we don't have as much freedom. I can also point out also that it's also possible to have 3D animation blended with 2D animation. For example, I've seen some use, for example, use 3D for the environments since it gives that a lot of depth to the scenes. Lets you turn it down. The problem with those is that since you're working with two different software and you handle it, for example, you do the blocking with the scene and you have to animate the 2D scene above it and actually try to match it by hand, which can be tedious, but when the scene is done, it's going to be worth the time.
Yeah, a big challenge with that is sometimes, especially if it's big camera movements, and I noticed this a couple of times in the MLB movie. There's a scene early on where like some characters are like flying past the screen and there's like a 3D big flying past. Sometimes the characters look like they're like stuck on the same 2D plane and like, there's like no depth, but behind them there's all this like depth and stuff, and that can sometimes mess with it. And I noticed in the movie, even I like picked up on a few like big dribbles. Didn't look quite right.
When we work on Good Morning Baltimore, he had that issue that he wanted to deal with, and one of the solution that he found is that backlinks and the contact with the ponies, the way that we did them were two separate layers that were placed in the scene on two separate depths, so you'd actually feel the difference in depth. Are you the question?
No. It's referring to like the beginning of the movie, like, you know, but as soon as it starts zooming into the, Campbell area.
I remember the random background characters were like kind of flying. It was sort of like at a downward camera angle, and like the city was like kind of moving past like this, and the characters were kind of flew a bit closer to the camera but further away. That's kind of how it looked. I've only seen it once, so I don't remember.
It's basically the establishing shot of Campbell right before you get Spike who's just running, and then it cuts to the other shot. And it's actually one of these shots where you basically have one camera and you want to pull a beauty shot that just looks impressive. And I'm not going to say to people, don't try that because it's too ambitious, but it's one of these moments where you feel like the scene, story-wise, if you try to do something as complex, adding a cut between the two might make the scene not feel as impressive, but just with the story you're trying to tell with that animation, it won't change anything. And it's one of these moments where you might realize that putting all of the efforts for nothing, well, it might feel like nothing, but it's something else. So there's those priorities, like those shots that might be more important to avoid rather still at those efforts instead. So don't put all your eggs in too many baskets here. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have collabed already, but if not, if you guys have collaboration in the future, you think that work with y'all's workflow would work together? Or?
The thing is, I actually think I could, because when I look at your work, I see this amazing, like, again, compositing and lighting stuff, but sometimes the character animation is a bit choppy, whereas that's kind of the area of like
where your animation smooth as hell,
yeah.
could have some special
So, I mean, it's always possible that you could like chuck me in the Flash files and I could just like smooth everything up and make it look
or
nice.
you could send your animation that I could actually get the problem though with collab with video animators is basically it's just a drive of someone getting at them or something someone else. It can be done. There's also times where animators collab or do. And it really depends how you go with it. For example, a good example I'm going to keep pointing out, but Good Morning Baltimore was just BD, that was directing all the other animators done what they had to do. and it actually helped to know what to do with that animation. But since he had to learn how the animators actually work, he had to learn what work of strengths and weaknesses, and actually get the animation within those countries. So basically just the fact that he knows my strengths, I know his strengths, just those parts can actually help a lot. Yeah, the lab. The only thing that I'm not too sure is the style, since he's mostly doing comedies, and I did done like 2 videos of jokes, but they don't actually reflect the thing I've got in the style.
Well, I don't think that necessarily be an issue, because all the things I want to make that I would be passionate about are like more serious things. It's just that comedy is easier to do short form, whereas my big ideas would be too long and would take like 5 years to complete on my own, so that's why those never get done. I think the biggest issue would just be that I'm super busy with like other stuff, so.
I do agree. I mean, there's the fact that it's like 9 months to do that project, and I kind of had no time to do anything else, and it's that feeling. It's not that we don't want to do more stuff, it's just that there's 24 hours on that day, and wake up at 4 p.m. on weekends because I'm tired from that the entire week. So, yeah, but it's not a definitive no, it's just those constraints for example. So, yeah.
So you're saying y'all go to school for animation?
I went to the Centre in a school in Montreal. Basically, it was one of my father's friends who basically recommended me that school. We basically, as you said, we went to a 3D school as well. Basically, 3D schools are much more important now because they also teach you how to do special effects for movies.
And compositing and all this stuff.
Which basically helped me get jobs in special effects because jobs in animations are kind of hard to get, but jobs in special effects can be done just, for example, for advertisements, for movies, or there's a lot of other forms of training.
Also, 3D animation in general is where most of the animation industry is these days anyway. A lot of people want to move to making like cartoons and stuff in 3D because it's cheaper, which I don't necessarily like, but you know.
Well, I mean, it's a trend right now because 3D has proven to be popular, but the thing is that we might get back some 2D, for example, the movie that actually proved with a budget of under $3 million that you could actually go with really good animation. Well, basically what they did is that a lot of the scenes were just puppet animation, and some of the key scenes were actually hand-drawn with those same puppets. Yeah. So maybe that style could actually get some fans, despite the interest in the 3D animation, we could actually approach it with other style, other kind of stories as well.
Also, you asked which school I went to. I went to a school in New Zealand because that's where I'm from. Lifeway College. Well, they like moved campus like the year I left, and I don't know what they're doing now. But like, apparently the school still exists. It's in like a different part of the city, like in New Zealand. And I honestly, I mean, I had fun there, but I don't know if I'd recommend it because apparently the animation industry in New Zealand kind of thinks of that school as a bit of a joke. I've heard from people in like Weather Digital, who like do stuff on like Lord of the Rings and all that. So.
Oh, I mean, you're gonna learn stuff a lot, not just from your school, but also from your classmates. I've actually learned a lot from my classmates who also proved to be good at different things. There was one of my friends. He thought at first that he would do. Basically, we wanted to do a lot of compositing, and he realized at the end that he loved doing just smoke effects, fires, those kind of simulations. And got a job as to just doing that. Yeah. Yes. And basically, I've been at least trying to learn Maya as well, because because 3D is really good to, and basically in the 3D industry, there's a lot of different software that you can use for different files. I did a whole city with 3 billion primitives with the software called Vegas, which is a completely new piece of software that's completely different from other stuff because it doesn't need to be handled. And basically had to learn it in like 2 weeks because we had limited time. So there's also is one of the most common ones. There's which is getting started. There's Blender for one-to-one, just the free stuff. So it's not really used by the industry, but pretty neat as well for small to get started.
Do you think animation colleges worth the price tag?
I think it was worth for me because it actually get that kid to learn things because they also learn they also teach you a lot of things on filmmaking, which I was quite surprised to. Well, my film analysis class was one of my favorites. Maybe because the teacher could take, he was really good at taking the most mundane thing of your entire life and making it sound like the most amazing thing ever, and take the thing that's like the most amazing thing to you and then make it amazing. So
at my school, the teacher would introduce the topic and troubleshoot for us and give us critique. But apart from that, about 90% of the stuff we learned was from digital tutors. And a digital tutor subscription is only like $20 a month or something.
That's what I was wondering, like, is it necessary to go to?
It depends. If you're like have no experience, it might be a bit overwhelming. But if you were like me and I had 6 years of experience already, I was kind of acing everything. I didn't really learn that much new, but I couldn't have just learned by watching digital tutors online. And so the $20,000 I spent on school compared to $20 a month, where I could have learned most of the same stuff, I think, even though I really enjoyed my time there, because it was so laid back and everything, if I could do it again, I wouldn't go to that school, but it depends on, your like level of experience. If you're like sort of experienced and you really want to be in a work environment, I'd say, also especially if you're generally more financially well off, I'd say it's definitely worth it. So it kind of depends on.
There's also a great thing with school. It actually helps you a lot to establish connections with other people. To actually get some more connections with the industry. So
I didn't do that.
Well, yeah, I kind of
Double ring group.
Well, no, the Double Ring Group is a completely different story altogether. It's basically just one guy who basically got the approval from Hasbro to get his school project to be done, and then he has the internet to help him, which is a really weird thing to think about the guy asking. Basically, I have a homework to do, so he has the internet to work with him. At least he was not just getting the internet to work with him, he also had to do animation and stuff.
Speaking of moving to Rich, and also the earlier question about tutorials, I don't like the tutorial.
They basically teach you how to use screen, so
He takes the entire puppet and skews it. You don't do that. You can skew everything except the head. Don't skew the head, it looks bad.
It actually works kind of for this week. Very fast movement.
I guess if it's only for like one frame, but in Double Ring Group, there are certain points where literally everything is like skewed and like, look bad.
It's like a rolling shutter when you go just too fast.
But we're like way over time.
Yeah, we are. So that's not that I see.
I'd say right now, probably just be safe.
Yeah. So maybe no very good question for going.
Do you have a lightning round then?
That's funny. Right.
Endless chess?
Yeah.
I haven't been spoken.
Well, you never asked so many questions. Oh, it's kitty button. Well, basically, it's well, I guess it's just like it, yeah. So that's pretty much what I know about the artist. Yeah. So thank you so much for being there for us. It's been wonderful, and I kind of want to say year, but I'll probably see whether it's conventions. And I hope that you're gonna want to just start with Flash. I don't want to see you that animation as well, because we need more animators.
More animators in general. But ultimately, I don't know if I'll be one of the next year, but probably get nice best with Robocon.
That's the one I need. Always in PC account. And I missed my best last week because I didn't do it, but I might go to that.
So, that's the panel and more.
Alright, so.
Yeah.